Strong opposition has trailed the proposed local government election in Rivers State, with critics rejecting the process as unconstitutional and a betrayal of democratic principles. They describe the imposition of a retired military officer as sole administrator as a throwback to authoritarian rule, warning it erodes civilian authority and undermines indigenous self-governance. For the Ogoni people, this is more than politics. It is about identity, resistance, and the fight to determine their own destiny. Well, to discuss this, I am joined by Dr. Goodluck Diigbo, the President, Ogoni Central Indigenous Authority. Thank you for your time, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Now, let's get straight to it. How does the imposition of a sole administrator, undermine Nigeria's, constitutional provisions, particularly as regards local government autonomy?
Yeah, thank you. If you look at Section 171 of the Nigerian Constitution, the emphasis is on electoral process, and the imposition of a sole administrator on Rivers State violates that section of the Constitution. So to start with, it's completely unconstitutional and undemocratic.
Doctor, I thought I lost you for a moment when it comes to the audio, but if you can hear me, let me also find out if the OCIA calls the planned elections internal colonial rule. Is this merely political rhetoric, or does it highlight a deeper constitutional crisis in Nigeria's federal system?
It highlights a deeper constitutional problem and also lack of constitutional order. And as I said earlier, if you look at Section 7.1 of the Nigerian Constitution, the emphasis is on electoral process. And to impose a sole administrator, a retired military officer, on the people of Rivers State is not electoral. And my opinion is that the imposition was meant to intimidate the people of Rivers State. And that returns us to the military regime that we fought and thought was buried. So it's completely unconstitutional, lack constitutional order, and it breaches the idea of democratic election. Again, if you look at the Constitution of Nigeria in terms of succession, the question that arises is, how did this emergency come about? What is the scale of the crisis that was in Rivers State? Sorry. Was it something that affected the state alone? Or did it also affect the State House of Assembly? And if it did it affect the local government system? So why was it completely a blanket shutdown of the democratic process? So this makes it completely unconstitutional. And we have not been told actually how this affected the local government system. Does it mean that what affects the presidency would automatically affect the states? And what affects the state will automatically affect the local government system? In a three-tier system, I don't think that would be applicable. So this is where we see it as completely undemocratic. Beyond that, the Ogoni people are an indigenous people, and we have a self-government in place. We've exercised our right to self-determination following the Declaration of Self-Government in 2012. So we have organized our own election in a transparent and democratic form. The issue is that if you impose a sole administrator on the Ogoni people who are exercising their right to self-government, you are violating international law.
So,
because
okay. I would like you to speak more. Sorry to interrupt you, but I would like you to elaborate more on what you mean by the Ogoni people, having appointed or elected their self-government. What exactly does that mean? In what context?
That refers to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, Article 3, 4, and 5. Guarantees self-determination to indigenous people worldwide, and that right is being exercised all over the world. It's not only in Nigeria. So if you look at Article 5 of that declaration, the Ogoni people have a right to their own legal structure, their own political structure, their own economic structure, their own social structure, and they can choose to participate in the nation-state politics. They can choose either to or not. So the Ogoni people can still remain part of Nigeria, but that does not mean that the state can impose political, economic, and other decisions on the Ogoni people. It has to be a free and prior consent. It has to be that the Ogoni people agree to what the government of Nigeria wants to do.
So according to you, right now, what is the position of the Ogoni people, according to you?
The Ogoni people does not accept any process of local government that will violate the existing system of government in Ogoni land. The government that exists in Ogoni now is self-government of the Ogoni people, based on the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, based on the Ogoni Bill of Rights, based on nature's law. And even the Nigerian system guarantees self-determination. And so any attempt to impose local government election on the Ogoni people is tantamount to internal colonial rule. Besides that, within the Nigerian context, you have states, and the sole administrator of Rivers State at this moment is a retired military officer from another state. And so this is a form of internal colonialism. When you use someone from another state, that is not qualified to be governor of Rivers State. So what qualifies him to be the sole administrator of Rivers State? And so this is completely an internal colonial rule, and it's completely disgraceful because it takes us back to the military regime where the use of force was the means of electing leadership or choosing leadership. So this is purely an internal colonial, and the Ogoni people were never consulted. And even if they were consulted, there was nothing to warrant emergency at the local government level. Recently, as July in 2024, the Supreme Court of Nigeria recognized some degree of autonomy for local government. So for the federal or the state to interfere in the local government system is a violation of the Nigerian Constitution itself. And this is why we see it as a form of internal colonialism.
All right, now let's broaden this conversation to look at to what extent, when it comes to this confrontation between your organization, that's the OCIA, and the Rivers State government exposed unsolved questions about, Nigeria's post-military democratic order. What are those, will I call it, hanging issues?
The main issue is that the Ogoni people have a right to choose their own leaders. We do not...
Independent of the Rivers State government?
Yeah, the Ogoni people, we are autonomous distinct nation within Nigeria. And the right that we are exercising in Ogoni as the right to self-rule or self-government is being exercised by indigenous people around the world. It's not just in Ogoni. Even in the United States here, you have more than 300 communities that exercise right to self-government in their own villages. particularly the Native Americans. So there is nothing extraordinary about what the Ogoni people are doing. And Nigeria is subject to this law because the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People is completely based on the United Nations Charter, to which Nigeria is a signatory. And so it will amount to relegating from their commitment, their international commitment, to interfere in the legitimate self-government of the Ogoni people.
All right. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we'll be taking your final thoughts on this matter. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television. I still have my guest with me. Thank you for staying with me. Dr. Goodluck Diigbo is the president of the Ogoni Central Indigenous Authority. Thank you for staying with me. Now, let's broaden this conversation to look at the role of the FCT minister, who was the former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, and also the suspended governor of the state, Sim Fubara. With everything that we see, politically in Rivers State. What's your take?
I think it's manipulation. Because if you look at the resolution, I'm not sure of the content, the resolution adopted by the National Assembly in a system dominated by the president that unilaterally declared the state of emergency, dissolving the executive arm of the government in Rivers State, the legislative arm of the government, and also extending it to the local government. This is very questionable. And if there is crisis at the presidency now, by the Constitution of Nigeria, the first among equal, says the speaker in that hierarchy will be succeeding the president, or you start with the vice president. Or if the vice president is not a viable alternative, they will go to the National Assembly to pick someone. So to dissolve the executive, dissolve the legislative arm of the government, dissolve the local government is so sinister. It's democratically dangerous. And now if you allow this to continue, this is a precedent. The next president can exercise the same authoritarian, can also do the same thing. And that is what we see as authoritarianism and imposition of internal colonial rule, especially on the Ogoni people. I'm not speaking for any other section of the Nigerian side. I'm speaking for the Ogoni people because we have a viable self-government in place, which is binding on the Nigerian authority. And all we have asked for is constructive consultation and constructive dialogue. Because if you want the nation state, Nigeria, to survive, you definitely need the diverse population to be part of the process of building it up. You need a unity that is not based on coercion, because what I see happening now with a military person in charge of Rivers State, as I said before, that is very intimidating.
All right.
And that Nigerians are very...
Dr. Diigbo.
Go ahead.
Dr. Diigbo, I mean, before I let you
Yes.
go, just a quick one. What is your message, on behalf of the Ogoni people, to the sole administrator in Rivers State?
No, it should stay away from Ogoni because we do not want that local government election to happen. He's a colonial master. We do not...
You call him a colonial master?
Just as we do not accept an external colonial master, also we do not accept any internal colonial master. So,
according to you, he's a colonial master?
He is a colonial master. He knows. And everyone knows that he's a colonial master. I'm not speaking for the state. But as far as Ogoni people are concerned, he is a colonial master. You have our elections. Those I can see a video from our election. This was properly conducted within the framework of the Ogoni Central Electoral Commission. We have our institutions in place. Every institution that is democratically necessary for the survival of a nation, a distinct nation state, such as the Ogoni people. So we see him as a colonial master.
Okay.
He may have been appointed. Go ahead.
No, I wanted you to land because I just also wanted to take a swipe at what we are showing on the screen. You said it's the election that you conducted. And I'm just tempted to ask, I mean, does this not contravene the Nigerian constitution where you have a state within a state? Is this the scenario here?
It's a distinct indigenous nation that is autonomous, that is exercising its right under international law.
So does it have a
Article 3? Go ahead.
Does it have a president? Does it have a cabinet?
Of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People entitles us to set up our own legal institution, our own political institution, our own economic institution, our own social institution, protect and preserve our customs and tradition. So the Ogoni people have all legitimate right to organize themselves as they see fit without an external dictation, such as putting a colonial master at the head of government in River. The only way that is affecting, that will seem to affect the Ogoni people, is because Ogoni is within River State. But even at that, local government system in Nigeria should exercise the autonomy granted them by the moribund Nigerian constitution. But besides that, the Ogoni people are enforcing the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, which is completely binding on Nigeria.
All right. Finally, before I let you go, what would be your message on behalf of the Ogoni people to the suspended governor, Sim Fubara?
I'm not in a position to advise him, actually. What I would think is that people have to rise up and defend their rights, because I think I don't want to advise him on what to do. But as a politician, all politicians should understand their own rights and stand up to defend their rights, especially when they are leaders. Because if the leaders cannot defend their own rights, then they cannot defend the rights of the people they govern.
All right, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on the program. Dr. Goodluck Diigbo is the president of Ogoni Central Indigenous Authority. Once again, thank you for your time. And this is where we, of course, close the curtains. In case you missed out, you can catch up on our YouTube platform. That's at News Central TV. You can also choose to follow us on social media. The handle is there on the screen. You can choose to follow me personally at Diigbo, at Diigboye. Until I come your way tomorrow again, good night.